Hey there, and welcome back to the Orlando Homeowner Show. This is Rick Bosley, and as always, it's Wednesday at 12:15, where we're going to be talking to experts, professionals, and people that you just need to know if you are an Orlando homeowner currently living in a house or you eventually want to buy a house. This show's for you. So stay tuned. We've got a great guest today. He's a good friend of mine, business partner of mine, mentor of mine, Richard Carpenteiri. So we're going to be right back. Let's take a look at what we've got. Richard Carpentieri, how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic, Rick. How are you?
Hey, man. So I think since you're old enough to have facial hair, you've had a mustache. And now you're rocking the beard. Is this like a holiday celebration in honor of St. Nick, or what are we doing here with this beard?
Actually, it started out as a COVID beard. I just got over COVID. So during the COVID, I was in quarantine for 19 days. So for 19 days, I didn't have to shave, and I just decided to let's see what it looks like.
Now you're going with it. So how grizzly will you get? Are you going to be like one of the shows off of the Georgia guys?
That's a great question, Rick. I really don't know. I had a beard once before 30 years ago. However, it never got this, never went this far.
I think we can have an over-under, and I can't grow facial hair. I still have the baby face, so I'll have to shave like 3 times a week. But if you can start getting like at least the chin goatee, I think it'll be great for your brand.
There you go.
Well, hey, thanks for jumping on, Rich. You know, you and I, gosh, we connected 10 years ago because that's my anniversary of real estate. At the time, you were already the team leader of the Lake Nona Keller Williams Market Center. Since then, we've just grown to be mentors and peer partners and friends in that aspect, and we have a couple of business partnerships. So quick resume about Rich. If you guys don't know Rich, he is an investor and or primary owner in several different locations throughout the state of Florida. You're hitting the Gulf of Mexico with Spring Hill and Citrus. You've got the Central Florida with Claremont, and then also here in East Orlando. Did I hit all those locations correctly? You kind of just hit the whole, take Highway 50 and just spread it across the whole state.
That's right.
You're sprinkled in there. You've been licensed in selling real estate as a broker, as an agent, or as a leader for the last 16 years. And we can't forget the most important stuff, because we're going to talk about it a little bit today, is a father of 4 and a grandfather of 3 1/4. That's
right.
So congratulations coming in
Thank
there.
you.
As always, guys, if you're listening to this and you are in the Wednesday at 12:15 to 12:45 hour, then we are live. I encourage you to ask any questions, share any thoughts, comments, ahas, because you've got a brilliant man here. And the content for today is very themed on the holiday of Thanksgiving and gratitude. And Rich has always said and preached and shown and lived that gratitude is one of the strongest forms of energy. You're very intentional with gratitude, Rich. You're very intentional with being able to pay that forward. So I want to talk and share your story to inspire others, to inspire others who might be thinking about building wealth or entrepreneurship. And like we've mentioned before offline a little bit, there's probably more important lessons in your failures.
Yeah.
I'm going to share a picture, and this is just one of the many pictures that we've seen. Let's see, at the stream. There we go. This is a picture of you on your Life by Design house, right?
Correct.
Tell me what we're looking at here, and this is where you're at now, and then we'll back it up and figure out how you got here. So what are we looking at here?
So that's the end of the dock. You could see this couple of boats over there. My dream has always been I love fishing since I was a little boy with my dad. And I've always wanted to live on the water and just never thought that I was going to be able to, because you don't think you're worthy of it. You don't think you're smart enough, or you're never going to have the money for it. And those are just misdirections that you tell yourself, or stories that we create that hold us back from our potential. And once you come to the realization that you are worthy of all of the dreams that we have as a kid, and that you can make them happen and come true, then you start to envision what that would look like, and then get a plan or a strategy. And then most importantly, Rick, it comes down to execution, is implementation, taking action. And that's where most people struggle, is with the implementation part.
I want to unpack that a little bit, because this is the Orlando Homeowner Show, yet we're talking to humans today, right?
Right.
And up here in your little area, you said my life by design tonight. And that's been a mantra that you've really taken by the horns, specifically the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Right.
Tell me about what that statement means to you, my life by design.
Sure. So back in 2009, I was a fairly new team leader, and they came out with this coaching program called Bold, and it's one of their bold laws: life by design, not by default, which basically means choose the life you want to live and go live it. Don't just exist and let life take you or capture you. You need to go out and live life. And so I really believed in that to the point in 2014, I auditioned to become a Bold coach and was hired. And for the last 6.5 years, I've been trained by the best of the best: John Maxwell, Diana Kokoska, John Prescott, Pat Mancuso, Matt Townsend. So we get extensive training 4 times a year where they bring in people and they teach us how to think. And one of the things that I can tell you is that all successful people have the same blueprint, which means basically we think differently than other people. Most people will focus on what they can't do, or successful people focus on what they can do. Most people will talk about limiting beliefs, where successful people want to talk about their potential, how to unleash that. And what gets in there, we always have obstacles, right? So instead of talking about stumbling blocks, we'd rather talk about stepping stones, like how do we get to the next level? And so that's been pretty much it. Life by design is, for the last 7 years, I've been living the life that I've always designed in my head and never thought it was going to be possible. Once I realized the possibilities were there, then it was just a matter of me putting down on paper what those actions or that strategy or plan looked like, so I can take execution. I can just take action on that.
There's a lot of what you said, so I want to chunk it down, because you and I have been surrounded by this sort of conversation for our Keller Williams careers.
Sure.
Even more so, yet many people are listening, watching this right now, they're not. You even said it. Most people think about what they can't. Few people think about what they can. Most people think about the limiting beliefs versus the unlimited beliefs. Most people think about struggles versus stepping stones. So if you're talking to most people right now, and even they're hearing this right now, and they're at a job that feels dead end, or they're at a spot that just feels like they're financially paycheck to paycheck, or they're renting and they can't get that home ownership, or their home ownership and they don't feel like they can ever have enough money to get into investing. This is all the mindset you're talking about.
Right.
How or when did it for you, when did it click from a must be nice, oh well, it's not for me, to it will be me? And how does someone take that mental shift? I mean, is it
Sure.
a decision? Is it affirmations? Tell me about what your advice is for that.
I think it's a little bit of everything. For me, Rick, I think the most important thing was I went to a class, who the person, he's a really wise person, Mike Brody, and he was teaching a wealth building class many years ago. And it was the first time this was in 2008, before I joined Keller Williams. And he was talking about passive income. Now, I was 48 years old at the time, and I truly didn't understand passive income at the level that we do understand it now, you and I. And when he was talking about how impactful passive income comes later in life and how it will help you live the life that you desire, I started to inquire and go to more trainings on passive income. And my goal at the time, now remember this was a long time ago, 2008, was to someday, I didn't have a date down, which was a mistake, and probably would have happened faster, but someday my goal was to have more passive income than active income. And basically the definition is active income is you go out to work, you get paid, you sell a house, you get paid, right? That's active income. If I break my leg and I can't go out and show houses or list houses, I don't get paid, right? The passive income happens regardless of what I'm doing, whether I'm sleeping, I'm at the movies, I'm at a baseball game, I'm watching the grandkids, you're getting paid when you're not doing anything. So from rental income, stocks, dividends, things of that nature, profit share, whatever. And I put down a plan probably around 2013. So I took some time and put down a written plan in 5 years how I was going to achieve wealth at a fairly high level, and to get my dream house, which was a beach house. And I had a timeline, and I had everything down in writing, which kind of formulated and said, I have to buy so many investment properties this year. I have to buy a brokerage or a portion of a brokerage, and as an investor, or whatever investments or companies that I've invested in. And none of it's through stock. It's all been basically around real estate. I mean, that's what we're an expert in. If we're licensed in real estate, why not invest in the thing that we're an expert in? I'm not an expert in stocks.
Sure.
In fact, I've probably lost more money in my lifetime in stocks than I've made. I'm not a stock trader. So I just focused on my one thing, which is real estate. I put it in writing, and I just followed the plan. I said, if this is how much money I need this year to invest, to buy 2 investment properties each year for down payment, and then the money that came in, the positive cash flow, would go back into savings and snowball as passive income. And before you know that, passive income started to snowball. Until in 2018, I was able to have my passive income surpass my active income, which basically means I don't have to work anymore. I go to work every day because I choose to, because the people I work with are the people I love. And if I've done this, everybody could do it, Rick. We've just got to teach people. They've got to get past the fear of risk and failure, and they've got to take action.
So we'll push pause because I want to make sure we don't skip over things.
Okay.
2008, you heard Mike Brody speak. 2013, you took action. What happened in those 5 years between idea to action?
Fear.
Tell me more.
Fear. Yeah. So just the fear of making that first investment. And my wife, Debbie, is a wonderful person, but she's the exact opposite personality of me. That's why we're a match. Opposites attract, right? So I'm the risk taker. She's risk adverse. She doesn't like risk. So buying investment properties, well, what if something goes wrong? What if they destroy the house? All those questions that everybody has. So for several years, I let that rule my life. Until I saw Gary Keller at 2012. He was promoting one of his books in Orlando, and he said, "How many people?" And there's 1,000 people in the room, and he says, "How many people have a real estate license here?" Everybody raised their hand. 1,000 people. He said, "How many people own at least one investment real estate, not a primary investment?" And about 10% of the people raised their hand. And he said, "How many people in here own some sort of stock in their 401k, IRA, SEP?" And probably 3/4 of the room raised their hand. And he said, "How many of you have a Series 6 or 7 license and are able to sell stock?"
Right.
Not one person raised their hand. And so it was that moment that dawned on me that why am I investing in mutual fund stocks, whatever, day trading? I'm not an expert there. What am I an expert in is real estate. So at that point in 2012, I put all my focus on real estate, and that's when I bought my first investment. I bought 2 of them in 2012.
So if we're talking to the viewer, we don't know if we're talking to realtors, bankers, teachers, nurses. Is the advice is if you can invest in where you're an expert, start there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a nurse, there's probably not investing into medical supplies, so it's going to be partner with the right professionals, and maybe it is diversified with the right financial advisor or Series 6 or realtor there. So fear stopped you. You
Mm-hmm.
wrote down the plan. In 2013 is probably the time when we flew up to Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
you were very intentional, and we all were, with tracking net worth.
Yes.
And if you feel comfortable disclosing it, great. If not, give us a ballpark figure. But you were very intentional with my net worth is X right here. And the compound interest that you saw, which goes into snowballing, because you mentioned snowballing, but not compound interest, the compound effect. Talk to me about thinking in terms of net worth instead of cash flow and how that's changed your paradigm, your financial thermostat.
Yes. So in 2013, right before we flew up to Atlanta to see Bob Kalinske and a select group of individuals who are all fantastically wealthy and successful today, I attended Dave Ramsey class, which was very impactful. And basically, I always know how to do a net worth sheet and never did one. So I filled one out, and I just followed his instructions to do one every month. So every month I started figuring out a net worth sheet, and I just started to watch the needle move. And as if you know, like we teach that, what you focus on expands. The more I focused on it, the more it started to grow for me, right? And well, here's what I noticed. It took me 2013, probably about 56 years for me to accumulate my first, to cross over that $1 million mark, my net worth. So 56 years. And then the next one happened in less than 2 years. So the first million is the hardest because you're dealing with obstacles, you're dealing with limiting beliefs, you're dealing with fear. Fear is real. What if I lose everything? And there's a ton of mistakes I made. There's a ton. And I think there's so many lessons to be learned through the mistakes. You know, beforehand, I told you that I think that people who want to talk about their successes just want to impress people. People who want to talk about their mistakes want to teach people. And I think those mistakes that I've made through the years, are vital.
So let's talk about those, right? Because one mistake that really stands out to me, and this is even before you became, you know, in the Keller Williams world, was you had foreclosures on several of your investments because you bought several of them in a condo. Hey, we're live, folks. We've got Rich, the popular guy. So if you're wondering why we didn't end this out, it's because we're live, and that's okay. So Rich, if you got to take the call, we'll push on pause.
Don't worry. My wife's
stand up there right now, so it's all good. All right, so talk to me about some of those mistakes early on as an early investor who cut your teeth a little bit. Just tell that journey, and then what did you learn from it that made you a better person?
So when I lived in New York before I was licensed to sell real estate, I bought a bunch of condominiums in Myrtle Beach with me and my cousin. We were partners on 5 units back in 1988. Real estate was booming, and 1992 along comes
interest rates were great. You're getting like 15% interest rates.
Yeah. Yeah, they were really high. Only that we didn't know any better. That's what the market was. So And along came this hurricane, 1992, and caused severe damage up and down the East Coast. And although my condo units had absolutely no damage, I had no insurance claim. The fascia of the building was damaged, so the building was condemned, and I couldn't rent out the units. These were investment properties. So I learned in the very early beginning, I bought the condos for the wrong reason. And that was probably the biggest lesson I learned, which was I bought them as an investment because real estate goes up and appreciates over time, right? And I had a negative cash flow from $200 to $300 per unit. So I bought them for the wrong reasons. You don't invest in real estate unless you have positive cash flow. You don't want anticipation of appreciation, right? So I couldn't carry now that I have no income, the negative cash flow was probably $1,600 a month each. So I wound up eventually losing all of them for 2 years. I couldn't rent it out because we were in court with the county. They wouldn't let us fix the building because it was too close to the beach. There was some ridiculous ordinance that said no scaffolds could be built more than, within 40 feet of the beach, and we were 27 feet. Some ridiculous, and again, these are the things you don't know. So that was my first important lesson: is don't buy investment real estate unless it has positive cash flow. The second thing is condos are not investments, in my opinion. Now, this is my opinion, because the condo association fees eat away at your profit. So if you want to buy a condo because you're going to go there for the weekend at the beach to spend it to create a legacy and memories for your family, that's wonderful. But if you're buying it for investment reasons, then you're better off on single family homes, duplexes, triplex, quads, whatever. Those have a higher rate of return or cash on cash.
What is your minimum formula now? Because we talked about cash flow. Cash flow builds passive income. Cash flow builds reserves, so it self-funds when you need that new AC. Cash flow buys the next property because now you're snowballing there. So what is the formula now? If I gave you an investment and said, do you want this investment? Do you have a rule of thumb and go, as long as it cash flows X?
Yeah. So typically my properties cash flow $500 a month, positive cash flow or more.
Okay.
So I want to say the smallest one is at 400. But going into it, and that's because insurance went up, things of that nature. They were at 500. Now they've dropped down. So going into the transaction, they've got it. So you do a detailed rental analysis. You figure out with the mortgage rates now at 2.5% roughly. I mean, the money is so cheap right now.
Right.
And people, I think, get confused between the term ROI and cash on cash. We always hear ROI, and there's some flaws in that calculation. One is that you truly can't figure out the ROI until you sell the property, right? Because it's the net operating income, right? So it's what you paid minus what you sold divided by what you paid for, right?
Sure.
So in the beginning, you don't have an ROI. And the second thing is it doesn't take into account how many years. So let's say you bought a house for 200,000, 3 years later, you sell it for 300,000, you made 100,000 profit. So your ROI is 50%. However, it's over 3 years. So it's really 16 and 3/4 when you do the math. Not that that's bad, that's good. However, it doesn't take into account the years. With cash on cash, all it is you think about it this way: how much money left my bank account? How much did I put into the transaction? And what's
if you buy the $200,000 house at 25% down or all in, you put in
right.
50 grand. If you can make 500 a month, you're pulling out 6,000. So
right.
Your cash on cash is going to be, you make that back up in 6.5 years.
Yeah.
So you're about 14% cash on cash.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's the lesson there. Tell me about some more lessons, because you also got into buying businesses and investing in businesses as well. Tell me about some of those mistakes.
Never put all your eggs in one basket.
Okay. So diversify is lesson number 2. So the other lesson with the condo was going, hey, we got condo, look at us, we're 5 and we're doing great. And then wham, hurricane, whammy, whatever it was called, knocked the wind out of you.
Condos aren't investments. That's a lesson. The fact that I think that to envision, again, if you're going to have family time, legacies, and memories, it's great. But if you're looking for true investment, I don't see the condos, because it's just going to eat away at your profit margin, right? And the third is never buy an investment property unless it has positive cash flow. That's a reason to buy it. Yep. And then maybe your standard is 200 a month, 150, 300, whatever the case is. There's always deals out there. Sometimes they're just harder to search for. Yep. You've got to find the deal on the front end. And then if you do the rental analysis, right now the rental market is crazy as the sales market is. The rental market is twice as
it's driving the sales market, because people are getting squeezed out of their rental there. Yeah. All right. So the other thing you mentioned, and you brushed over it, yet the snowball, and it's taking your passive income and not living off of it. So when you make that 500, that's not your money you get to go on vacation with.
That's correct.
It goes into your investment account. And so tell me about how that traction started, all the way going back to profit share to the first $3 you got. You haven't touched your passive income. That's a discipline. That's an intentional mindset that if people listen to this right now and they have the journey of wealth building or creating the life by design, this is a discipline that I think is a must-have if you want to get the results that you've got as quick as you did. So break that down and talk to someone who's not used to talking like this, and give kind of those core fundamentals there.
Sure. So back when I received my first profit share distribution, which was back in 2009, I believe, it was a very small amount, and it was very joyous for me. It wasn't about the amount; it was the fact that somebody deposited money in my bank account. To be honest with you, it was only 58 cents, and I was.
That was your first passive income, though, outside of the condos. Well, I guess you never got passive.
I never had positive cash flow, so I never had passive income.
Yep.
That's why I didn't understand it. Right. And my wife was like, "You can't even buy a cup of coffee with that." And I was like, "You're missing the point. This wasn't a withdrawal; it's a deposit. If they can deposit 58 cents, that means they can deposit any amount."
Right.
And I just worked on that. And about 4 months later, I received a deposit for $600. And then my wife wanted to know, could we go shopping and buy some new red bottom shoes? Absolutely not. So I had a wealth building account set up where all the money went into this account, and the discipline was that she and I had a conversation that whatever money we're about to receive in passive income is only going to be used to buy other investments, which would be real estate, either or brokerages or another company or stocks. And at that point, I stopped buying stocks about 2012. So I wasn't buying any stocks or mutuals. So we just let it get into an account until it built up enough money. And in 2012, we bought our first investment property. We bought 2 of them that year, matter of fact, because now the money was snowballing. It was a lot of it. It was coming in. And the more investments that I bought, whether they were brokerages or rental properties, I keep putting the passive income into that wealth building account, and I keep my active income separate. So my taxes are paid for my active income. My vacations are for my active income. I eat out on my active income. Jewelry and presents are my active income. The discipline comes, you have to make an agreement that you're not going to spend that passive income on anything unless it's an investment. So you're truly using Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the quadrants, to use the money to work for you as opposed to you working for your money.
Yep. And just again, not showing who we're talking to, the quadrants are Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or cash flow quadrant, which is you're an employee, self-employed, business owner, or investor. Staying on the right side of business owner or investor is where you see that passive income. Right. So you're a grandfather of 3.5. You've got your lake or your beach house. You've got the 28-foot beautiful boat. You got the jet skis. So now the grandkids can come hang out with grandpa. Are you grandpa? Is that your grandfather's name? Papa. When do you start getting to reward yourself and get to play with your passive income? Because there's got to be a switch that you stop creating active and you put your feet up with that margarita. Is that a number? Is it a date? What is it for you? And how can other people think the way you've thought about your life by design?
So right from the beginning, my goal was to have 20 houses. I have 4 kids, so I can give each one of my children 5 houses. So that goal hasn't changed. I'm at 8. I've got 8 houses and ownership interest in 7 brokerages. So when I've got those 20 houses, so I don't have a time frame, Rick. For me to sit down and retire, I'm not ready to just set off into the sunset. I really don't work. When you love what you do and you're passionate about people and pouring into others, that's not work. I'm having fun. So going to work and teaching classes and doing things of that nature, that's what my passion is, to teach other people to get past their hump, to get past their limiting beliefs, to get past the stories they've been telling themselves that are holding them back so they can unleash the power and move forward. Because if I could do it, you could do it. You've done it. I've done it. Everybody could do it. They've just, and they tell themselves a story. Well, my spouse doesn't like, blah, blah, blah. So it's just because they don't have the information, the data, or knowledge accurately enough to show that this is the pathway to do what you were born to do.
Let's talk on that, the spouse, because you said Debbie was fearful. Debbie wasn't in that Mike Brody class with you. Debbie was much more of, let's go buy us the Jimmy Choos or whatever the shoes were. So where was her transformation? Or was it just off blind faith because she loved you and trusted you? Or did she have a flip switch? And what can you tell spouses that are hearing this, yet their other spouse does not, so not necessarily subscribe?
So for us, the turning point was 2011. Lake Nona was moving from Lee Vista to Lake Nona in Orlando. And Lori Terrell, the operating partner, gave me an opportunity to purchase into it because we had built that market center from 42 agents to up to later on 228. So it became a very profitable market center. So she gave me the opportunity. And when I went home to discuss that with Debbie, she was like, wow, I don't feel comfortable investing. And that's just her personality. Right? Because people will gravitate to do what comes natural or comfortable.
What's 40, 50 years of programming?
Yeah. And so I had to convince her that, hey, look, we've made money. We've lost money. If we lose it again, we'll make more. Right. And I believe basically if I'm running the office, what I'm asking to do is invest in myself.
Bet on you.
I'm betting on myself. Now, I don't know about you, Rick, but if somebody says, would you bet on yourself? If that person says no, I'd be very scared to go into business with that person if they're not willing to bet on themselves. You bet on yourselves. Look what's happened within your life, right? You have the same story. So we've both bet on ourselves and we've delivered, right? So it was just a matter of having the conversation. And the way I always like to tell people is persistence breaks resistance. Eventually, Debbie broke down. We made an investment in that market center, and The money kept coming in, which went into our passive or wealth building account, and the rest was history. So
that's discipline. We
yeah.
are at 12:45. We're against the wall. You've got a lot of wisdom up in your jargon. So what has been the most impactful books that you would recommend for somebody? We had two conversations. One is mindset and unlimited belief and intentional thinking. Go create your life, go write it down, go figure it out. So your best book or video to watch there, and then also on wealth building. What can you share that other people can tap into?
So I've got two books that I would definitely recommend. One is The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, because it's helped me focus. All of us follow shiny objects. Yeah, there you go. We all follow shiny objects, and we squirrels and whatever. And I think that you've got to stay focused. If you want to be successful, life is going to throw a lot of shiny objects at us. And we've got to learn, Rick, to be focused on to get the end in mind. And that's what we're going to go to. The next is the 21 Irrefutable Laws by John Maxwell. I think those laws are gold to follow as guideposts to live your life. I think those would probably be it. As far as wealth building, there was a book by T. Harv Eker, and I can't remember the name of the book. He's definitely the author, and it's Millionaire Mindset, I think. I believe it's Millionaire Mindset by T. Harv Eker. In that book,
T. Harv Eker, you got it.
There you go. So Millionaire Mindset, that will definitely get your mind pointed in the right direction, Rick, of how a successful, wealthy business person thinks. Now, a lot of things are going to seem either ridiculous, silly, or uncomfortable to you. And until you adapt or adopt your thinking to what he proclaims in the book, you may not be ready to be successful or wealthy. You've got to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. And when you do what's uncomfortable and make it become comfortable, success is on your doorstep.
Yeah. Well, I love it. Even your wealth building book wasn't tactical, because there's a lot of out there from MREI or other things. It was still about mindset, which is the theme of this. Gratitude, having that clear picture, having the unlimited beliefs, not letting negativity define who you are, your environment define who you are, which learn through things like quantum leap, 6 perspectives, and bold.
Absolutely.
So, Rich, very appreciative of your time here today. I know it's valuable, appreciative of friendship and mentorship and partnership there. Congratulations on the expanding family, and I trust you guys will have an amazing Thanksgiving. Glad you're on the end of the COVID, and I think you need to stick it out, rock the beard, and keep it going. And I'm going for this. I want to see you groom the beard next time I see you.
We'll see about that.
All right, man. Hey, I appreciate it.
Rick.
What's that again?
I said thank you for the opportunity being on your show today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Rich. Everyone, take care. We'll see you next week, Wednesday, 12:15. Bye-bye now.